well as they might want us to. But there's a sense in which you get some people saying that, look, whoever was in charge much more couldn't be done, which is not to say that we're leaving it like this, but they're assuring us that it is a work in progress and they are working at it. Now I'm telling you about electricity. What can we do without electricity? Yet we're hearing that, whereas some people might say that the cost of electricity to them is also high, further depleting what is available for food. That's what we talked about yesterday. Now the minister has said that actually it's unsustainable where it's at now. And so they're talking about something called cost-reflective tariff. And that was the voice of Mr. Ademola Adegoke, former head of media and communications, Eco Electricity Distribution Company. You're welcome, sir, as usual. So, well, you are going to be defending this matter, or is it better put as explaining it?
I'm explaining it.
Okay.
I'm actually not defending
okay.
I'm explaining the intricacies, the dynamics.
The dynamics, which, if all goes according to the plan that we're hearing about now, the tariff for electricity might just be going up. Might just be going up. Okay, what we do, before we come to studio for the discussion, we do have a package that we put out earlier. Let's play that package by our Habiba Lawal to sort of get some perspective on it.
We are also establishing a customer complaint escalation center.
This year, 450 billion naira was budgeted for subsidy, but the ministry needs over 2 trillion naira to pay for it. Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, said state governments will now be allowed to generate electricity independently to supply power to their state. Over 50 billion naira has been earmarked in the 2024 budget to build mini-grids to supply power to remote areas. He read a riot act to the electricity distribution companies, urging them to sit up or have their licenses withdrawn.
It is either we look for money at all costs to fund the subsidy because of the political situation of the country and the hardship people are passing through, or we bite the bullet and everybody understands, okay, let's bring the roof down first. Let's reflect everything on market commercial basis. Then we'll start a rebuilding, because it is postponing the evil days if we continue anyway. So I am not calling for removal of subsidy before they misquote me, but it's a decision for the entirety of the country to decide. These are assets that we spend the country's money on, and our brothers, part of us, will deliberately sabotage it. So you can see that some people are hiding somewhere that do not want this sector to work.
The minister also said the frequent collapse of the grid, which has occurred about 6 times between December 2023 and February this year, is caused by shortage of gas, old and obsolete machines in the grid value chain, low capacity of evacuate generated power, and destruction of power stations in some parts of the northeast geopolitical zone of the country. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, thanks to Habida there, and well, that's really the long and short of it. There are those who would have heard for the first time, perhaps, that, oh, this subsidy matter that you think was only in the transport sector via petroleum subsidy removal. There actually is subsidy too on electricity power, and it can't remain where it is. Now, as I was saying, there are those who think that well, if they're not actively campaigning that it's too high, they feel it's just, I can just barely manage myself. Just let it be. But we're now hearing the minister say that it's not going to work. It can't work. It's not sustainable.
It's so interesting hearing Chief Adelabu suddenly, changing position.
Mm-hmm.
On the 2nd of January this year,
yes,
many newspapers carried a report, and I'm going to read just a paragraph. Let me read the caption, and it says FG insists on sustaining electricity subsidy. That was the caption on the second of this month.
Yes.
And it says that the federal government has said that even though the process of arriving at a cost-reflective tariff, it was still on, federal government would do everything to sustain electricity tariff.
Where it was, where it is.
That was just
January.
about a month ago.
Yeah.
Now, the same minister is maybe acting like, some people will say, maybe like a turncoat, and is suddenly saying he's changing his position. When you see this type of discordant tunes emanating from the same, agency of government, it tells you something that, the government is finding itself between the rock and the hard place. Now let us lay the foundation.
Yes, sir. And
Let us lay
I
the
beg your pardon for
foundation.
interrupting, but when that turnaround by the minister, the first thing it would indicate is that the minister now has better information than when he was speaking earlier.
Perhaps he now does. Perhaps he now has better information. He's now talking from the background of information and knowledge.
Yes. And
about
that it's we need a cost-reflective tariff. Where it's at now is not sustainable.
I'm going to explain that. Let us first lay the foundation for what subsidy. We all know. We all have an idea of what subsidy is generally, and it is done globally. You have the true cost of a commodity or service, and then you now have the allowed cost of that service. The question now is, what is the true cost of per kilowatt hour of electricity in Nigeria, and what is the true cost? And when there is a gap between the true cost and the allowed cost, because government, for so many reasons, for protection of the vulnerable, for political reasons, and for economic sustainability and the rest of that, government will now come in and say, you know what? We know that there is a gap. If you are to sell this, if you are to price this commodity or service at its true cost, the people, the masses, will not be able to bear it. Now, I will come in and pay the difference, and that is what has been happening. It was not just this government; it was being done, all along. And in the year 2021, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, being the regulator of the industry, attempted to bridge the gap between the true cost and the allowed cost. And they came up with what is known as the multi-year tariff order. Now, NEC came up with what you call the MITO 2022. And with MITO, the true cost then was 59 point something naira, and then 62 point something naira. That was the true cost. Now, for the allowed cost, they now did something. They differentiated. They made a distinction between discos that are located in places where you have, a majority of high-income earners or people, affordability now. And they also looked at discos where you have people who are more vulnerable than you have in other places. For a co-electricity distribution company, for example, the difference between the true cost and the allowed cost, the true cost then was 62 point something naira, and then the allowed cost was 59. The true cost was 62, and then the allowed cost was 59 naira So you now have just a difference of 2 naira plus that government was paying. So NEC was able to do that, and then the subsidy that government was paying actually came down in the year 2021-22. And then as at the first quarter of last year, the subsidy for first quarter of last year was 52 billion naira that government paid.
Pan Nigeria.
Pan Nigeria. But by the time this new government came in,
by the way, we're also picking up the tab for our strategic deployment of electricity to neighboring country like Niger. All of that is paid by the what? By government or by the consumer here?
No. Government does not subsidize, consumption by, foreign. I mean, by those other countries.
They just shunt it across.
Those ones, buy bulk power from us, at
a given rate.
And
they do their best to make sure that there's no failure.
If anything at all, perhaps, it's their government that will take care of that. This is for Nigerian consumers of electricity.
Okay.
So it was 52 billion, but by the third quarter of last year, after some changes in the macroeconomic environment, one, we know the removal of subsidy to petrol, then the floating of the naira, that shot up the cost of electricity. As at that time, the generation cost, because you look at the cost across the value chain, you look at the generation cost, the transmission cost, and the distribution cost. The generation cost as at that time was 31 before the changes in the macroeconomic environment. The generation cost per kilowatt of electricity was 31 naira, and it jumped up to 54. Transmission cost jumped from 6 naira to over 9 naira. Distribution cost from 30 naira to 47. So when you aggregate everything, we now have, the true cost of electricity coming to, averagely, per Nigeria, coming to about from 59 to 109.
Now, that's a humongous leap.
Per kilowatt hour.
Per kilowatt hour. That's a humongous leap.
So
when you say we now have over 100, does that take care? Is that just cost reflective? Because I noticed.
Yeah, that is the cost.
That would be the cost reflective.
That is the cost reflective. That is the cost reflective. And don't forget that we had said that in the first quarter it was just 59. Cost reflective was 62 for discos for 62 for your Lagos. I think AEDC was 65 naira for cost reflective. And then the difference that government was paying, for example, in Lagos between 59 and 62 is just about maybe not up to 3 naira. You understand? But per kilowatt hour. But by the third quarter, when those changes in the macroeconomic environment, took place, you can see that government, from 2 naira or 3 naira per kilowatt hour, government was paying for a place like Lagos. Government was paying over 47 naira per kilowatt hour to subsidize. So for every kilowatt hour that is consumed, by anybody, government subsidizes with 47 naira. Now,
is there an aspect of this that look? There's a lot of wastage. There is wastages and all of that transmission shortfalls. Put it under production, if that is the word to use in this case.
It is called aggregate technical commercial and collection losses.
Because where I was trying to get to is that should our production capacity have been much better, wouldn't it have made a difference? And are we also are we trapped in the situation that, look, what we have, we must put out, but we have to do so, as our people say, untabara la mata?
No, you see, the thing about electricity, realize that electricity is not something that you produce and you store. You understand? It has to be consumed. So, and in any case, we are not even producing.
Yeah, but they are looking at the cost of. I mean, we're not able to make use of economies of scale because the whole infrastructure is not where all the engineers and scientists want it to be right now.
Yeah, you see, one of the issues in the sector is that it is highly dependent on, it is an import-based sector. You understand? Almost everything that they use, you understand? So if the price of dollar goes up,
it will affect.
It will affect.
What we're doing.
It will impact, what we have here, and that is exactly what is happening. As at the third quarter of last year, by the end of last year, government, from 52 billion. It had jumped up to 337 billion. So now, the problem is this, and that is why I say that government is finding itself, between the rock and the hard place. The dust raised by the removal of petroleum subsidy is still is very much in the air. It has not settled, and now. You want to, and you know that labor is still, labor is still up in arms with government, say even over the removal of petroleum subsidy. Now, for government now to go ahead to say that it wants to remove subsidy on electricity, it's so government is, if you heard the minister well, he said, I am not advocating because he doesn't want to be in the bad books of Nigerians.
He doesn't, yes. He said before I'm misquoted. It is not sustainable.
But that if I wish. So
he's indicating an inevitability to the situation.
So that is the issue now. That do we continue to patch up and, say that we are postponing the evil days, or like using his word, that do we just, once for all, bite the bullet,
which is what we did. That was what we did in the petroleum subsidy thing. President Tinubu helped us on that one on his very first day, inauguration day. He bit the bullet, and there are those who are still complaining.
But even at that,
they're complaining at that biting of the bullet. Even though we're now looking with hindsight and saying, well, we're going to get there anyway. Maybe the shock has sort of destabilized us.
We have not gotten out of the shock.
Yes. Mr. George, good morning to you. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yes.
Good morning to the guest.
Yes.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, the minister should show us his roadmap on what he wants to do in that sector before coming out to tell us that the government cannot sustain subsidy. What is the difference between removal of subsidy and his pronouncement that government cannot sustain it? If he says that there are some people who do not want the power supply to improve, let him fight the people. That's why he's there as the minister. Subsidy removal of fuel, we are all seeing what it has cost now. The more money came to the government, but this money has been circulated to governors and local government chairmen. These people have not seen the impact of the difference of the money they've been getting. Some of the states are getting 3 times what they were getting before. But the people themselves are not feeling the impact of this thing. So if the minister is saying that there are some people who do not want the sector to work, then why is he there? There should be power before you start talking about tariff increase.
Indeed.
People are paying for what they are not even enjoying right now. Why don't you work? I expect the minister to talk about how the national grid that is collapsing every day can be repaired, can be addressed for people to see power. How what is being generated by Gencos can reach discos, how the transmission point can become, viable for Nigerians to see light. He's not talking about that. He's now telling us that the government cannot sustain subsidy, as if he's a marketer for the discos. I'm not able to take that on Kuyori.
All right, then. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George.
What is there to do?
Sure.
In fact, I do not believe that he has what it takes to handle that ministry.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. Well, that remains to be seen. But you see, you were using the expression between a rock and a hard place. This really is the story, quite frankly, of this particular administration. But Mr. George said a lot of things in there that I'm sure you won't disagree with. Look, no undue criticism meant, but we're actually paying for what we're not really getting. A lot of people have the story of, it would be one thing if you could pay and then depend on the fact that you have a known quantum of power for a known time, but that is not the case, yet you will still pay. So that idea, would you like to speak to that aspect about, shouldn't we have brought the thing to a stabilized situation before we begin to talk about this, couple that with the incessant collapses of the grid?
You see, this is like which comes first. This is like the question of which comes first, the egg or the hen.
Or the chicken. Or the egg or the hen.
The egg or the hen. Which comes first? It's like, so it will be an unending question. You understand? If we want to go that route to say, okay, do we stabilize the sector first, and then when it is stabilized, then we now can be talking of removing subsidies.
That's why the minister was carefully adding in there that don't let them say that Adebayo Adelabu said it.
Said this,
it's not me. He seems to be indicating that it's the indices.
You see,
if you know it, why? Although maybe I shouldn't just. You were saying that early January this year, he was saying that we're able to manage.
Of course.
We're able to manage.
Just January.
Now he's saying that something is going to have to change.
So, and you see.
And salaries are not changing.
Well, the area, my own point of convergence with Mr. George's position is that, he is saying that perhaps, if I heard him well, he is not entirely saying no to subsidy removal, but he wants to have a roadmap to see what is going to happen, and the because
a reasonable position, isn't it?
Because the argument is this, his own argument is that when petroleum subsidy was removed, government had more money in its coffers. And this money, the question now is not just having more money. How are you utilizing the money that you have?
What difference has it made?
What difference has it made in the lives of the people? And I think an average Nigerian, when you lay the facts before them, with the benefit of hindsight that people like us have, we know. I want to agree with the minister that it is not sustainable. I have spent over 40 years of my life in the power sector.
Okay, it is not sustainable.
So it is not sustainable. But the thing is that
because we're not rich, we're not really a rich country like that.
But the thing again is this: if you tell me that if a father comes into the house and he says, you know what, no more meat in this house, you understand? You need to provide alternative to meat. You don't just say no more meat in this house and then everybody agrees with you. Okay, we want to understand what do we have as alternative to meat? And I think this is the position of Nigerians.
It's a form of Labour's argument. It's also what you just said is a form of Labour's argument, although emotions tend to get frayed once we get into it. But it's a very reasonable position that Many Nigerians are counseling that. Let me see your roadmap so that in the course of that, we will know what the challenges are, where you are trying to get to, what is preventing you, and we'll also be able to evaluate you. But before you go, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Before you go, Alhaji Yahaya has called in from Bidda. Good morning, Alhaji.
In the course of that, we will try to get...
Alhaji Yahaya, did you hear me? Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Iri?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the respect of the topic you are discussing, yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah, in the respect of the topic you are discussing this morning, it's a very good topic that really affects people. But my concern, the minister say, what's it called? Subsidy is unsustainable. My question is, were there subsidy before? Because I said this because in the 2014, 2015, my bill, it never used to hold me. My bill, I would pay more than what I was billed. But now, I'm paying, they will bill me over what maybe I'm consuming. And this, I will pay less than what I'm billed. Presently now, my bill read about 500, I'm worrying about 500 plus, 500 naira plus. 500,000 plus. So is that the subsidy that the government is owing? Because it's always bother me when they will bill me around 25,000, and when they come for the payment, I'll pay 10 or 5,000, and they collect it. So the remaining debt, where is it going to really? That is my problem. Secondly, paying a subsidy, I don't think is a problem. Even the developed countries pay subsidy in most of their for a country to sustain.
Okay.
You cannot just remove everything at once.
All right, I think that's the bottom line. That really is the bottom line. Thank you very much, Alhaji Yahaya in Bida. His complaint is that everything is being taken away from us. It's like, let me breathe, is what the average Nigerian is saying.
Yes, and you see, an average Nigerian, I want to align with that position of let me breathe. And, you know, we have every right to say that. But then, in the face of, you know, stark realities of the moment, we also need to look at some things. One thing about subsidy worldwide is that, one, there are factors that you consider in whether you want to continue with subsidy or not. It's not just about affording the subsidy now. It's about, you know, your ability to continue to afford it, sustainability. That is number one. Then the number two consideration for subsidy is that how is the subsidy getting to the right target? You also need to ask that question.
Which was the problem we asked in the petroleum.
So,
subsidy.
and it is already happening.
And the
It is already happening in the electricity.
The minister was speaking about saboteurs. He was speaking about those who don't want the sector to work. And as Mr. George said, you're the minister. Name them.
You see,
Action it.
There is this
What's the problem?
There is this trite principle of law that he
who
who alleges
must prove.
Must prove.
No way a minister will come out and say a thing like that. So he knows what he's talking about.
If the minister is saying that there are people,
Yes.
you understand, Nigerians are less bothered about, you know, those people. We want to see the government we have put in place, you know, to serve us and then protect our interests, not the interest of those that do not want the sector to work. I expect that the government, with all that it has going for him, security, intelligence, and everything, should be able to go after those people and then rein them in.
Because they
They should be
clearly
reined
are
in.
part of the problem.
They should be reined in.
Well, you started off by explaining that, trite aspect of law that you who alleges must prove.
Must prove.
And we have this thing, a phobia of, what I was looking for the English of Soju Abeniko.
To hit the nail
on the head. We don't do that. That's not a national pastime. So we will say the euphemism of there are those who don't want this place to work. I've got to go on a break now. Okay. I'm coming right back, sir, and then you'll continue. And we'll also continue taking your calls as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Welcome back. We're looking at the impending cost-reflective tariff that we are being educated about as inescapable, very, very soon. But before I continue, Ese has joined us. Good morning, Ese. Ese, can you hear us? Good morning. You're on.
Good morning. I can hear you.
Okay. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Ese. I'm calling from Okocha.
Okay. Welcome to the program.
On this matter of light, the Minister of Power is talking about subsidy that is not sustainable. I just don't understand. In the past, before we started adopting prepaid meters and all of that, there have been issues of crazy bills. Even when prepaid meters were shared in the former estate I stayed, they said there was an outstanding bill on the flats we got, where I just got, and we had to pay. That was Jonathan regime. We had to pay at least 70% of the outstanding debt before I started using the prepaid meter. I went to the management of the estate. They paid, I think it was 255 outstanding debts on the old meter. The estate management paid 290. I submitted tellers to the network office and everything. And we started using the prepaid meter. But up to date, because I was the one that received the meter to the flat, up to date, I still get text messages telling me that current bill, 000 usage, outstanding bill, 235,000. mean that was not that money that was paid was not accounted for. Now, this goes to what the last caller just said. The last caller said the debts taken from people owing and all that, where does that go to? Also, the media person in the studio now talked about the countries we give light or we supply light or sell light to, giving as usual charge for light. It's just, this whole thing is just about take from us. We're not seeing any practical development. It keeps getting worse.
Thank you very much for calling in, Eze. Appreciate your call. This is the frustration of a lot of Nigerians.
I need to make some. I need to make some clarification here because he said the media person. I am not speaking for the discourse. I worked as a former, HOD of Media and Communication in one of the discourse. I have left, so I am not holding brief for anyone.
But you have the experience that you can bring to bear.
Yes, because of the benefit of hindsight that one asked about the industry. And I was going to explain that when you are talking about subsidy, you look at some issues. One, the first is, can you afford it now? If you can afford it now, can you continue to afford it? But most importantly, too, you also look at, is it getting to the right target? And that is also another issue with the electricity subsidy. Because when you look at the amount that government is paying, it has been seen that, for example, Eko and Abuja that are deemed to have the two discos in Lagos and AEDC that are believed to have customers with at least a higher, buying power than you have in Yola. Government is paying for the 335 billion that government paid in the third quarter of the year. 117 billion went to those three. Whereas Yola, that is believed to have, much, more vulnerable people, got 2-point-something billion. So it then means that government is actually funding, subsidy for people that can afford.
Okay. It's an interesting point you make there. Yeah. But let me bring in Mr. Yakub in Dokwemu. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to your guys.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
I think the government should look into this very particular electricity issues very well, because as Mr. George rightly said earlier, the minister that held this very particular portfolio, I stand to be corrected. I don't think he can handle that very particular sector. That is the truth. And then one of the callers also said, does it mean that there is a subsidy on this electricity before? This is a big question. And then I have been saying that, Chief Jody, do you know that when there is no light, that is where you get much bills from the PHC? Because the issue is this, even the rural area, when they were trying to get in this very particular light, they will buy the poles, they will buy the cables, they will provide the transformer by themselves. Then the power holding company will not claim all those things to be theirs. Now they are not telling us that the subsidy on electricity is unsustainable. Subsidy on petroleum is gone. Subsidy on education is gone. Now subsidy on electricity is about to go. Where are we moving to? The question is, even the subsidy that was removed, yes, this is a government that we campaign for. Yes, and then I don't have regret being campaign for this government, because I believe that they are going to do the justice to all the things that they made on ground. And then we don't want to hear that the past government. That is not what we are here. So what I'm driving to is this, Chief Jody. The subsidy that was removed in petroleum, the state government, as Mr. George Riley says, they get much more money, Chief Jody, and then there is nothing to show for it. What are we talking about here? If they now say that they claim that they are removing this subsidy on electricity now, how much are we getting they are giving to us? somebody like me that they're giving me like 20,000 in a month. Now I should be expecting close to 100,000 naira in a month. Where are we going?
All right, then.
Where are we going? So
Thank you, Mr. Yakub. Thank you very much, Mr. Yakub. The point got. And he said he doesn't want to hear, and he's not the only person who will say that. Even some people in this government will say that, maybe I don't want to hear about past governments. We're now, and we must look at it. But it's a matter that pains many. Yesterday we had Senator Shehu Sani on here. We were talking about tensions as a result of the escalating cost of food, and he just made the observation that, look, imagine that we had 8 years experience of doing what the Tinubu administration is trying to do now.
Maybe we wouldn't have gotten here.
It wouldn't have been this tough. And so there's, whereas we understand that you can't be looking back all the time. No problem. Excuse me. We understand that. But a lot of momentum has been lost by not even being initiated in the first place. So now Tinubu's administration, to call it by name, has to establish this whole momentum business. And in that downtime, before the momentum is reached, we have this problem on our hands.
You see, my position, and I want to make it clear now, and I said it earlier. We should not just concentrate on the removal of subsidy alone. I mean, that is, I know that the Nigerians, they have justifiable grounds to want to resist any removal of subsidy, and I can see, reason with my compatriots on this. But the issue is that now, we have been saying that some of the steps, just like you just said, that the Tinubu administration is taking now, if we had taken them years back,
8 years back,
perhaps
behold the two terms of Buhari.
But now, if care is not taken, you understand, we will also be postponing some things, for the succeeding government to come and inherit. And then we will now be saying, if we had done this, before now. So this is
that kicking of the can down the road for the next guys to come and deal with. Is one thing that it looks like Tinubu's administration is saying that we're not going to do that.
I understand that. Like,
we're not going to do that, even though it's going to become a problem.
It's going to be a problem, but government can handle it better. I mean, so on the side of Nigerians, I want to say that government can handle it better. You see, if you want to remove subsidy, what plan do you have to cushion the effects? We have seen that the removal of subsidy of petrol, you understand, is still, biting hard on the people. And so, yes, it is almost imperative, almost inevitable. You understand that? Because this petroleum subsidy...
No, it's not almost. The minister has said clearly, it's unsustainable.
And let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. Let me give you one more thing. You see, the subsidy, it's not as if government has its own money ready that it's using, to subsidize. What happens within the system presently is that government sources funds from different,
which is why it is unsustainable.
It gets, from IMF guarantees and loans, from its commitments, domiciled in the Ministry of
useful
Finance,
causes.
And I tell you, the budgetary allocation for subsidy, for electricity subsidy for this year is just a little over 400 billion. But by the time this year ends, and if we continue, we will have spent close to 2 trillion naira on electricity subsidy. Where will the difference, come from?
Izzy in Bayelsa. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yari.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for holding on.
Today's topic is very interesting and is very critical to our nation's development.
Yeah.
It's so sad and very unfortunate that ministers who are expected to provide solutions to critical issues when appointed, who are supposed to be giving us solutions on how we can solve government problems, are now the ones crying foul and giving us alternatives that subsidy is no longer realistic. It's so sad. Just a couple of months ago, when the Administration came, subsidy for petroleum was removed in a country where over more than 3 million Nigerians are battling with hunger, malnutrition, and poverty. And if you juxtapose that side by side with the billions of dollars that have been spent on this power sector in the last couple of years, Obasanjo regime, the Jonathan regime, and how these things were moved to the GenCos, and the GenCos themselves are not even invested. The power, they are not invested critically into this sector. They inherited the facility of NEPA, and those facilities are what they have been using. The citizens bother to get transformers, citizens bother to do a rural electrification. But moving closely, the minister should be able to be thinking about solutions at this point. The Ninth Assembly have moved, the president has passed it, that power should go down to the state for state government to generate electricity for their state. At this point now, we're thinking the minister should be calling critical stakeholders meetings with the commissioners for power in individual states to think on how they can generate electricity within the state. And that aside, look at the military situations. This is a country where over 85% of the citizens don't have meter. They operate with estimated billing. So why don't the minister thought of building or creating funds to build meter manufacturing factories in the geopolitical zones and in the state to enable the citizens to have meter, that they can be sure of what they are paying? Because when you talk about tariff, how do you quantify and measure the tariff when there's no measurement barometer for the consumers to be able to measure what they consume?
Thank you very much, Izzy.
Very unfortunate.
Thank you, Izzy, for calling in. Let's go back to the original point of George calling in from Lagos. Mr. Minister, show us your roadmap.
You see, that is just...
Show us your roadmap.
For me...
Let's know what your plan is.
You don't just identify a problem, you also profile solution. And I think that is what is lacking here. The minister has identified a problem which some of us, stakeholders and players in the industry can, reason with him. We can reason with him on that. That actually, subsidy is not sustainable. And I'm saying it with all sense of sincerity and patriotism.
But that's
you
not
understand?
the end of the job.
So, but saying it, I want to, where I differ from the minister's position is that you don't just say, there is, that it's not sustainable. Yes, we agree. What do we do? But let me also address one point that the last caller made. He was talking about the minister sort of ensuring that the state governments also, that they generate their own power. And yes, but it is not the act, the 2023 Electricity Act that has been signed into law has devolved, has decentralized, power of, the electricity power that was once domiciled at the federal government, in the hands of the federal government, to the states. That power has been devolved to the states. It is now left for the state government. It is not the minister, because it is not the minister that will go and force each state to come up with its own law, with its own electricity law, because that is what the 2023 Electricity Act says, that each state must go and enact its own electricity law. And as we speak now, I don't think we have up to 6 states that have enacted their own electricity law in the country. Okay. What are the state governments waiting for? The different state governments, what are they waiting for?
One second, please. Mr. Mazi Okoroafo in Arochukwu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. Good morning.
Compliments of the electric system. Sayori, my guest, you see, this issue of generation of electricity or power. Each state or Nigeria, if the government or the people concerned can make this issue of solar materials cheap, it will help us generate a lot of things we want to generate. Because the solar is, look at the wind we have in Nigeria. It's what they call energy generated through wind. Look at the other, see how hot Lagos is. But the question is, we don't want to start practicing that. There are some young boys who have talent, who knows material, but they are not given the opportunity. Now you ask ourselves, we have University of Technology, all the states of federation, electrical department, what is their job? You see, the practical work is what we need, because no matter what we teach, every time we generate, tomorrow they will tell us the system has collapsed, the system will not collapse, the system has evaporated, if the system will not evaporate, they tell us no diesel, no gas, why? Look at gas flaring. I was expecting some people to gather this. I think There are people that have this component to go there. All those flaring, put it into, if the thing cannot go within Port Harcourt, within the south zone now, or southeast, you can still generate all those gas flaring to people to use it. But every day, you know that, look at our Jakarta industry, where the material is supposed to be. The sales is coming, is not coming. We have all it takes for the state, for the local government to generate their own power, not depending on federal, honestly. As a Nigerian, I'm tired of hearing people, all of us, depending on the federal. Let us go to university. These professors we have, doctors of engineering, electrical, please come into use. Do practical work, let us generate our own energy, not the question of defending. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. Good morning. Well, our guest, Mr. Ademola Adegoke, we introduced him, and he is a former head of media and communications at one of the distribution companies, Eco Electricity Distribution Company in particular. And I think one of the challenges here, everybody is calling in, we're proffering solution. I don't know if you agree that not enough has been done at all in terms of explaining what the nature of the problem is in a simple way so that everybody can grasp hold of it and see where the bottlenecks are. This is not a matter of eggheads and boffins and professors pontificating, because it concerns everybody. I think the central plank really is what Mr. George threw out there. Mr. Minister, where's your roadmap?
You see,
where's your roadmap so we know?
For me, the people in government should understand that they are no more Nigerian than we are. And they are no more patriotic than the rest of us are. So if there is a problem, Nigerians are ready to understand. They are ready to appreciate the level of the challenge.
Okay.
But no one appreciates any challenge, when explanation, when due explanation has not been given.
Exactly, sir. But I have just that they're threatening me there that I don't have the time, but I'm gonna still try and squeeze in one more call. Sylvester in Agor. Good morning to you, sir. Quickly, please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, TVC. It's so sad that Nigerians, we only talk about problems and we don't talk about solutions. The Minister of Electricity just said subsidy unsustainable. First of all, nobody knows about subsidy. I didn't know about subsidy in electricity or in power. There's never been a time that has been mentioned, but it seems that is the norm in Nigeria now. Subsidy this, subsidy that, subsidy this. But all of this is the problem. What is the solution?
All right, thank you very much. I did alert you. I did warn you that I was just trying to force it. I've got to cut in there because it goes back to what we're saying. People simply don't know. Look at what the Sylvester just said.
He never even knew that.
We don't know. He never knew. Yes. So this is where I think there must be a very concerted drive, and it happens in all aspects of the Nigerian body. We don't know. The information specialists are not letting the public out there know what the issues are. So by the time you arrive with unsustainable tariff now, that is the one that they will now hear. Oh, you want to take the little in my pocket again that I was managing? Just in rounding off, where would you put all of this, and how long do you think it is so that before this thing comes on stream? Is it almost immediate?
No, well, the minister has not given any timeline about when subsidy will be. He just put the thought out there.
I think
he just flew
that particular kite. We don't have much more time. But that's what has happened. That's what we heard, Mr.
So I will just say that the minister should, go back to his drawing table, come up with the roadmap, with the blueprint on how to, if subsidy is going to be removed, let us know, the level to which
we want to know what the issues are.
We want to be engaged.
Indeed.
Nigerians are ready for engagement, and they will listen.
Mr. Ademola Adegoke, thank you very much. Former head of media and communications.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure at Eco Electricity Distribution Company. And he did emphasize that I'm not working there anymore, but I do have experience, and we sort of talked about it. So that's our program today then. Do please join us tomorrow For a fresh edition, I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.
Questions with Ini. Hi guys, Ini. Your skin is really glowing. What beauty soap do you use?
It's glowing because it's healthy. I use a soap that keeps my skin soft and protected from germs.
But Ini, the beauty soaps I know don't give germ protection.
Dettol Skincare does. It combines Dettol's protection with argan oil to protect my skin. Gives me 2 times moisturization with a beautiful fragrance. Beautiful skin is germ-free skin.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Today, there are many complex, boring, expensive and useless exercise machines in the market. Or you pay over 400,000 naira a year for gym membership and never go. ShopX TV is proud to introduce Total Crunch Evolution, the compact, versatile fitness solution that is perfect for you. With Total Crunch, you get a complete fitness workout in one machine. Say goodbye to ineffective and complicated exercise machines. Now, you have the power to transform your fitness journey and get the body you have always wanted right in the comfort of your own home. Total Crunch is the efficient and effective way to build muscle, tone and tighten your legs, shape your back and pectorals, while strengthening your core and defining your abs. Now that's totally effective to get the body you want. With Total Crunch, your whole body works out at the same time. Only Total Crunch can put your whole body in motion as you burn calories and lose weight. Just one fitness routine a week will achieve serious results in 4 weeks.
Total Crunch Evolution has enhanced the way I work out and the results I achieve. It's not just a fitness equipment, it's a life changer. This versatile, time-saving machine is perfect for anyone looking to lose weight or stay in shape. Trust me, this is a game changer you've been waiting for.
With my busy schedule, finding time to work out and stay in shape has always been a challenge. Until I discovered the Total Crunch Evolution. It's a lifesaver.
Traditional exercise equipment is large, complex, takes up so much space in your home, and you could be paying up to 400,000 naira for annual gym fees. Get the Total Crunch Evolution, the 2-in-1 fitness solution to save the cost and transform your body from the convenience of your home. Similar equipment costs 300,000 naira, but you can get the Total Crunch Evolution for not 300,000 naira, not even 200,000 naira. Order right now and get your Total Crunch Evolution for just 179,950 naira only. And that's not all. You can get our Total Crunch Evolution in 2 easy payments of 89,975 naira. That's right. Pay twice to get your Total Crunch. And remember, if you order now, you get the Total Crunch Evolution delivered to you for free anywhere you are in Nigeria. And it comes with a ShopX 30-day money-back guarantee. Call the number on your screen now or scan the code to place your order now. But hurry, limited stock available. The proceeding is a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking it.
Hello, thanks for joining us on TVC Midday News. Let's start with the power sector, where the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, says electricity subsidy cannot be sustained and Nigeria must begin to move towards a cost-effective tariff model. Mr. Adelabu said the country is currently indebted to the tune of 1.3 trillion naira to generating companies and $1.3 billion for gas companies. TVC News correspondent Habida Lawal reports.
We are also establishing a customer complaint escalation center.
This year, 450 billion naira was budgeted for subsidy, but the ministry needs over 2 trillion naira to pay for it. Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, said state governments will now be allowed to generate electricity independently to supply power to their state. Over 50 billion naira has been earmarked in the 2024 budget to build mini-grids to supply power to remote areas. He read a riot act to the electricity distribution companies, urging them to sit up or have their licenses withdrawn.
It is either we look for money at all costs to fund the subsidy because of the political situation of the country and the hardship people are passing through, or we bite the bullet and everybody understands, okay, let's bring the roof down first. Let's reflect everything on market commercial basis. Then we'll start a rebuilding, because it is postponing the evil days if we continue anyway. So I am not calling for removal of subsidy before they misquote me, but it's a decision for the entirety of the country to decide. These are assets that we spend the country's money on, and our brothers, part of us, will deliberately sabotage it. So you can see that some people are hiding somewhere that do not want this sector to work.
The minister also said the frequent collapse of the grid, which has occurred about 6 times between December 2023 and February this year, is caused by shortage of gas, old and obsolete machines in the grid value chain, low capacity of evacuate generated power, and destruction of power stations in some parts of the northeast geopolitical zone of the country. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
We're staying in the nation's capital, where the Senate says it will investigate circumstances and issues involving the foreign exchange backlog, particularly the invalid $2.4 billion transfer recently revealed by the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The upper legislative chamber will also investigate a 10 trillion naira fund given out as development finance for CBN programs, particularly the Anchor Borrowers program. National Assembly correspondent TJ Suadeoye reports.
Recent developments in Nigeria's foreign exchange market has got lawmakers talking. In a motion presented on the floor of the upper legislative chamber by Imo West lawmaker, Senator Osita Izunaso highlighted the need for the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions to carry out a holistic probe on recent developments in the forex market, especially the foreign exchange backlog of a $2.4 billion invalid transfer as revealed by the CBN.
To mandate the Committee on Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions to conduct a holistic investigation into, 1, the propriety or otherwise of the recent developments in Nigeria Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, NAFEN. 2, circumstances and issues involved in the foreign exchange backlog, particularly the invalid $2.4 billion transfer as mentioned by the CBN governor.
The motion eventually led to a rowdy session after the President of the Senate questioned the competence of its committee in performing its oversight function in addressing the issues stressed in the motion.
The reason why we have
oversight and committees. The reason is for things like this. All the items listed here are items that should be handled by the committee. Now the committee is coming by way of motion to empower them to go and handle what we already empowered them to handle.
But the chairman of the committee, Senator Tokunbo Abiru, explains that the committee has already been briefed by the Apex Bank and is putting together a report to be presented before the Senate.
Last week Friday, we met the Joint Committee of National Planning, Banking and Finance, and Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions, and appropriations.
Following various consultations among the lawmakers, the Senate resolved to withdraw the motion to fine-tune some key areas to enable Nigerians have a better understanding of the issues and reveal areas of possible benefits.
The Senate acknowledges that the motion has very good leads that will help the recovery of funds for the current administration and lead to sanity in the management of foreign exchange issues in the country. The motion will be enhanced and represented to the Senate on another legislative day. Tijesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
And to cushion the effect of the current economic challenges, the Ogun State government has rolled out palliatives worth more than 5 billion naira. Intervention will cover the area of education support, food palliatives, health and social welfare, as well as well-being. TVC News' Kazim Olowe reports.
In the face of the current economic reality in Nigeria, Ogun State government has rolled out programs to support residents as the governor appreciates them for their perseverance and reaffirmed his commitment to the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. While listing out the programs, Governor Dapo Abiodun said the state will give a one-time intervention of 10,000 naira to 100,000 indigent students in public primary and secondary schools. He added that the state will also provide 50,000 naira each to more than 20,000 indigent students of Ogun origin across tertiary institutions in the country.
As a state, we identify with this beacon of renewed hope in these challenging times. Together, we shall overcome the adversities and build a stronger and more resilient nation. We have taken the following steps. In the education sector, we will be providing a one-time intervention in the first instance of 10,000 naira education support grants to a minimum of 100,000 indigent pupils in our public, primary, and secondary schools across the state. Number two, we will be providing all our Indian students in all tertiary institutions nationwide with an education grant of 50,000 naira each. To date, we have a total of about 27,600 indigenous students across the country.
On food support, Governor Abiodun said nothing less than 300,000 households will benefit from the program.
We will be providing insurance health cover for a minimum of 70,000 beneficiaries.
The governor also promised to commence the release of additional 500 million naira monthly deductions for civil servants and continue with other welfare programs. He also vowed never to allow anyone test the will of the state on security. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta.
Let's return to the nation's capital, where the food crisis is topping the agenda of President Bola Tinubu. He's now in a meeting with state governors at the council chambers of the presidential villa. The meeting is to discuss the current food crisis and how the federal government will partner with subnationals to improve the cost of living. Just last week, the federal government ordered the release of grains from the strategic grain reserve and put in place other measures that would push down the soaring price of food in the country. The meeting is coming a few days after the People's Democratic Party governors raised an alarm over the cost of living and compared Nigeria's economic situation to that of Venezuela. That's a country faced with hyperinflation, starvation, disease, crime, and high mortality rates. Staying in the FCT, the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, has placed a 20 million naira bounty on 2 wanted notorious kidnappers terrorizing the nation's capital, Dahiru Adamu and Abu Ibrahim. The suspects from Niger State are said to be responsible for abduction of 2 defense staff at an army estate and other notable persons in Abuja. Mr. Wike spoke when he met the Commissioner of Police in the FCT, Bennett Igwe, during a parade of 23 criminal suspects. The CP revealed that 7 suspects were arrested in Piakasa, Tunduwada and Keti village by a combined team of operatives of the Utako Divisional Headquarters and the anti-kidnapping team following the credible intelligence.
The only thing you hear that this has happened, you don't know what they have done. Search is remaining about 2 or 3 persons. Okay, let me put money on their head. So wherever they are, send their men out there. I will give them 20 million naira. Go and fish them out wherever they are. Use that money on their head. I want to see them wife or dead.
This group are responsible for the kidnap at the Federal Mortgage Housing Estate in Kabusa. They are equally responsible for the kidnap of Mr. Sunday Zakwai and 4 others. Mr. Sunday Zakwai, the district head, they killed him. The 2 staff of the Ministry of Defense, the Defense Estate kidnap. These are their work. And we recovered the sum of 9 million naira ransom from them.
And you're watching TVC Media News. We'll take a break now and return with more stories. Stay with us.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
So I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything.
If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to